is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, guys. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to speak with you and to show my experiences about Teams meetings. My name is Marcin Siewnicki. I'm from Poland. I work in quite small company ISCG as Microsoft 365 consultant. Well, I'm a SharePoint guy. I've been working with SharePoint for 16 years. Wow. And well, now I'm focused mostly on Teams, modern workplace, and entire Office 365 stack. And so let's start with today's session agenda. So first, I will talk a little about meeting types. It shouldn't be nothing new for you, but to be clear what you can do in which type. Then how to plan, what to do during planning your meeting, what option you can use. Then the meeting itself. So quick overview of existing options and some new options, because there are a lot of new options every month, so it's not easy to catch all of the changes. And at the end, what you can get and what you can use to recap your meeting to get information for your finished one. Why you should care about a meeting? Because you can schedule a meeting, well, roughly in 10 seconds. It's quite simple. You don't need to think. You don't just add some attendees, put a date, and type a title and send. And then you can easily end with, configured meeting or unconfigured meeting, something that you can't control. And on the meeting day, you can have some problems, or you create a meeting for someone else and forget to configure it properly, and meeting can be in trouble. Because some options, are obvious, but other options are quite or maybe not described correctly or good enough to understand how it works. So depends how we count meeting types or how we divide meeting types, meetings in Teams. There can be more or less meeting types, but I divided in based on day-to-day use. So first is Meet Now. That's very basic meeting type that you can start without planning, without any configuration options. You can do it from Outlook, from Teams, from Channel, from Calendar. Then is scheduled meeting, a meeting that you can, I think most people use that kind of meeting. Just put a date, start date, end date, and title and attendees. And this kind of meeting create a entry in your calendar. There's also some extended to this scheduled meeting called webinar. In this type, you can add, or you have some additional form for your external participants that you can send them and wait for the registrations. And the last one, completely different with different options, live event, which is some kind of broadcast event, which you can use if you have or if you plan to have large audience, very large audience. So for Meet Now, it's very important. There's no calendar entry. So it happens, it exists only now. When it's finished, there's no history in your calendar. It's ad hoc meeting or call, so you need it right now. Just you can start it. You can start it from Teams or from Outlook. It doesn't matter. But what is important, you have to send link to your attendees, to your participants, because Teams doesn't send anything for you. Just start a meeting and you are the only attendee in this meeting. So you have to send something to your attendees or invite them somehow. On the other hand, scheduled meeting, it's classic. It's, I think, commonly used meeting. You can start it from Teams and Outlook as well. So nothing new here. This type creates event in your calendar. So you have to plan it before it happen. I missed a slide. No, and the webinar is scheduled meeting, but with registration form for your attendees, with some dedicated fields, dedicated page for registration. So it's a little bit advanced. There is dedicated form designer, quite simple, but you can add additional fields, additional custom fields, and some description to your form. And you will get a report with registered attendees in CSV file. So you can use it for some statistics, maybe some additional communications, etc. Well, and in webinar, you can have up to 1,000 attendees in interactive mode, so with audio, video, and chat. And when you cross the 1,000 attendees, this meeting will switch to view only, so everyone will get only we'll see on your screen and hear your voice, so it's switched to non-interactive mode, so only your attendees only consume your sharing, your video and your voice, nothing else. A live meeting is quite interesting and it's quite complicated or advanced. This meeting is designed for large audiences. It came from Yammer meetings and Yammer streaming options. It supports up to 10,000 attendees, and because of COVID, it was extended to 20,000 attendees, and this 20,000 cap right now is planned for end of this year, and we'll see if Microsoft extends this or not. But still, even if we go back to 10,000, it's still a lot. And if you need something bigger, you can talk with Microsoft, and they can make it even bigger, up to 100,000 attendees. So it's quite large meeting type. And there's no chat and video from your attendees, so it's this is only you stream, attendees consume your streaming, and there's dedicated Q&A panel because there's no chat inside. So there is this Q&A panel is for question answers, and it can be moderated. And it supports multiple presenters. It has dedicated user interface, and this user interface is completely different than in other meetings in Teams. So it has completely different interface options, and in fact, every single option is quite it's different. There's only even there's some limitations in background blurring, so it's not so easy. So before you start this kind of plan this kind of meeting, you should go and check it how it works, check every single option, because there are some nuances, some small issues, or maybe features that can break your meeting. So that's about 4 types, but let's go to planning, because it's the very important part. So first, well, scheduling options. So scheduling, you have to schedule your meeting, send invitation, grab all people required for your meeting. Then you have to, or you should have, some kind of meeting plan and send this meeting plan to your attendees. Otherwise, you can end with unplanned meeting without any structure, and everyone can go in different direction during the meeting. And there is very important thing, configure. So you can configure a meeting, or in many cases you should configure, or at least check your current configuration. So let's start from schedule and plan. So After those few slides, I think I have only 4 slides here. I will switch to Teams and we'll see how it works. So about schedule, use schedule assistant and find time in Outlook. Find time is, I don't know if you are familiar with this. This is a free plugin for Outlook, and you can use it to find time for your external attendees. Invite only required people. That seems obvious, but we often invite everyone that we think they can help or should be interested in that meeting. Make it short. If you can, do it 25 minutes instead of 30, 15 instead of 60, etc. Make it short, even shorter, because you will save time and you will get, I think, everything that you need. And please do not ever plan back-to-back meetings. For me personally, it's very bad for meetings, because I know people that plan back-to-back meetings and think about as something usual, something common, and even a good practice to put to not leave a small space, small break between meetings. And it's very important. I will show you why. And of course, create a meeting plan and send it to your attendees. And during the meeting, of course, you have to or you should stick to the plan. About that breaks between meetings, Microsoft did quite interesting research about meetings, about back-to-back meetings. They did this research this year or last year, but the report appeared this year. And well, they tested a few users, and on each they check and they planned them meetings with breaks and without breaks. So use people with meetings back to back without any breaks between experienced quite more stress after 3 meetings without any breaks between. And people with breaks, with small breaks, even 5 minutes between breaks, well, stress, they didn't experience such a great stress, and they were quite relaxed and refreshed after 3 consecutive meetings. So shows quite clearly that even 5-minute break between meetings is something that you should consider as a pattern that you should stick to. I know people that don't use breaks, don't plan meetings with breaks, and they end with 8 hours back-to-back meetings in one chain without any single break. So I don't really know how they eat, how they go to toilet. I don't know, but they work like that and think that's okay. But to be honest, no. After 4 meetings without a break, I'm completely exhausted, and so no. Even if you have a long workshop, 4-hour long workshop, do have 2 breaks for 5 or 10 minutes. It will be much easier to finish that workshop, that long meeting, than just try to do this in one long run. So when you plan it, if it's planned, now it's the very important part. Go to configuration, and now I can switch to my Teams, or try to switch. Okay, I undock this one. Yes, go large screen, and yeah, we start with a meeting in calendar in Teams, and we can start a meet now. So a quick meeting without planning, or new meeting with planning. I will start with new meeting. So this classic scheduled meeting. And first thing, if you want to create meeting and configure this meeting, there's one small requirement, of course, title. New meeting, maybe some date's okay, and now if I can save it without any attendees, but it won't be a meeting. It will be just simple block in your calendar, and this kind of block doesn't have any option for your meeting because it's not a meeting. I have, as you can see, there's a event save button instead of send. So save, so just save it as a draft. In fact, so if I add someone, I test user John. Now I can send it to my attendees. Yeah, it's sent. And now if I go back to my meeting and to the edit options, there is a meeting option window section that can be hidden in if you have low resolution on, or yeah, if you have quite low resolution, you can end without meeting options, and you have to go to this ellipsis and click in on from this drop down. So it's not so easy to. It can be hidden. Yeah, I would zoom it out. Okay, so where's my meeting options? Yes, I closed those other. And very important thing, meeting options start in web browser. And there are few options that you should check and think about and configure if you need. First one is who can bypass the lobby. My test tenant is set to everyone, but you can check if it's only you, only people in your organization, etc. Depend on your meeting type, depend on your attendees audience, is it formal meeting or not. You should check and select the proper option. There's also an option for who can present during the meeting. By default, it's people in my organization guests, but you can select only specific people or only you. So only organizer can run that sharing option. Next two options, mic for attendees and camera for attendees. So you can disable these settings if you plan to have a maybe formal meeting and you want to have full control at the beginning of the meeting. The next one, record automatically. It starts recording your meeting when it starts, but it can be a little bit tricky. I will show you how it works because it's important to understand this option and decide if it's for you or not. And last one, last important one, I think, is allow chat in meetings. By default, it's enabled, and you can switch it or change it to disabled. So no chat will be available on your meeting or in meeting only. It means that chat will be available only during your meeting, and when the meeting is over, chat will be disabled. So depends on your requirements, select specific option. But let's go back to this record automatically because it's I think that you should understand correctly how it works and what you can get using this option. Let's stick to yes. And I will quickly switch to this presentation again. Where is it? Yeah, this is our control panel in our Teams. So meeting recordings, of course, now recordings are saved in SharePoint or in OneDrive. It depends on is this a channel meeting or not. If it's not a channel meeting, it's saved on OneDrive for Business. That's quite simple. If it's a channel meeting, it's saved in SharePoint library connected to this specific channel. Only two options, no stream, no other places. So person who clicked record during a meeting has full access to this meeting. Other attendees, but from your company, from your tenant, have read access, so can download a meeting recording or watch that recording. And external users, well, no access. if you want to share, you have to share it manually. And recordings do not expire. Auto expiration is coming in January next year. So we'll see how they going to plan to implement this and plan this one. But what about auto recording? Recording starts when a meeting starts. So not when the meeting is planned to start, so the start date, start time, but when a meeting actually starts. And what about recording started by external user, by guests, by users, anonymous users? Well, anonymous or guest users can start a meeting if you configure your meeting in that way, and they can also start auto recording, and those recordings are saved only on chat, exist only on chat, not in OneDrive or in SharePoint. And those recordings expires in 20 days. So you have 20 days to download such recording from meetings chat. That's quite important, I think, unexpected. But let's see. Let's check how it works. So this is my meeting. Yeah, auto recording enabled. So now if I go and join my meeting, without any voice and a camera, I don't need this. Yep. And yeah, its recording has started automatically, so that's okay. And it should be saved in my OneDrive because I started the meeting. Yeah, recordings. I can check if there's any recording in chat. Yeah, meeting recorded by me. It's in saving right now. But what if I details? I need a copy link to my meeting and try to run it from maybe this one. So I started additional profile for this one and try to log in as a guest. And based on current Microsoft policies and configuration, guests or anonymous user shouldn't be able to start a recording. But this is my guest. This is my anonymous user. So as you can see, I have to type my name. So anonymous user, join. Okay, this is my completely anonymous users without any login, without any account. And as you can see, this user has just started recording. And so if I finish that one, I can close this. It doesn't important now and go back to my meetings chat. Yeah, this meeting. Well, Teams tried to save this recording to Microsoft Stream, but it's not possible. So it saved it only in chat, and the download link will expire in 20 days. So quite unexpected behavior. So just keep in mind that auto recording. So record now. Where is these options? So record automatically option is good, but it starts, so recording starts every time a user start a meeting. So if you start a meeting 10 hours before real start, it will start recording 10 hours before the event, the meeting. Just keep it in mind, and you can end with a lot of recordings with your meeting, because each run, each start will create a new additional recording. And if someone from some guest starts your meeting, be sure that you download this recording from your chat, not from OneDrive, because there's no OneDrive behind it. There's no SharePoint behind it. Just link to this in meetings chat. So that's quite interesting. It's not available in files. It's only in this chat. So this auto recording works in this specific way. But if it's okay for you, you can click auto recording to yes and live with this option. You can close this one. So you can go and select option, or you should go and check your options. But if a meeting is running, you can always go. So I join my meeting again. Okay. So if your meeting is running, you can always go to and you have to be organizer. You have to create that meeting. You can always go to ellipsis and do meeting options, and you can modify any single option that is here. And those options are the same as those in the web browser. So you can, but this meeting you have to join this meeting to specify every single option, and even disable record automatically. Yeah, but what about, but this is for scheduled meetings. So because scheduled meeting is scheduled, you have options before the meeting starts. But what about Meet Now? If I start meeting using Meet Now function, there is, well, only start a meeting. Yeah, nothing more. If I start a meeting, now I can, and those links go away. Now I can go to ellipsis and to meeting options and configure all required options. And then I can go and share this invitation with my users using chat, mail, whatever you want. It's up to you, but otherwise you will be the only person in your meeting. But there's small trick or small feature in Meet Now. If you click Meet Now and click Get Link to Share, So you want a meeting link for this Meet Now. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's configure meeting option link, so you can go and configure your Meet Now before it starts. So just another quite unexpected meeting, expected behavior, but it works that because you created a meeting entry in Teams, and now you can go and configure it. But I think it's because you have link to this meeting, you can configure it later. But anyway, it's available to configure Meet Now before it starts. Yeah, so that about Meet Now. So there's no configuration, but in the same time you can configure it before it starts. So just keep it in mind. For scheduled meeting, configuration is available only when a meeting is scheduled. You can't configure meeting before you send the invitation for your users, and there must be at least one attendee to configure. If you save only with yourself, you can't configure this meeting. And yeah, option section can be hidden in ellipsis if you have quite low resolution. So it's not so easy sometimes to find this link to options. At the same time, if I go to my and create webinar, so it starts the same meeting as scheduled meeting. So there's nothing new here. Title, attendees, maybe plan, but as you can see, there is no channel, so I can't connect webinar to a channel. And my beloved John user again. So, in webinars, there is additional link to registration form that you can configure for your users. And it's useful when you want to share some registration form for your external users to get their information and send. Then you can, or Teams can send them a link to your meeting. So you can't. And for webinar, you can only schedule a meeting, a webinar from Teams. So you can't do this from Outlook. But I can send right now other options. So meeting options. If I go and edit, everything else works in the same way as for scheduled meeting. And the only difference is that options for webinar are predefined for webinar scenarios. So everything is disabled and presenter is only for specific people. So that's configuration, but you can change it whenever you want and switch it to make it a little bit different. So it's up to you how you really configure your webinar. Those basic options are designed to best webinar experience, but it's up to you. You can change, maybe record automatically to yes. Why not? If you know, if you really need this one. So that's about webinar. So there's this form designer. I won't go through this form because it's quite simple, and you will get report with registered attendees from in CSV file. What's important that all registrations goes to Microsoft lists, and I think that's very useful. And if I go back to my Teams, where's my Teams? And open this registration form. Okay, I copy this link and maybe fill it without any customization because I don't need to go through this now. Yeah, so just my first name, last name, and some test email, test.com. Yeah. So now if I go to my Microsoft list, I can find all registration or all information about that webinar in my Microsoft list. But it's, as usual, not so easy to find. Okay, not all recent. 5 hours. Yeah, now it's not showing. Why? Okay, let's go to this one. As you can see, there's a lot of lists with questionnaire, event with some GUID, speaker with some GUID, and I did a lot of webinar. No, only 2 webinars, but we can check the last one. And in this list with a lot of technical columns, you can check your users' registration entries. And because it's list in Microsoft list, you can add some automation, start Power Automate based on the user domain or maybe additional field that you select. That's quite interesting, and you can create a lot, use it, create or discover a lot of useful scenarios for webinars registration in Microsoft list. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. Microsoft use it only in some technical processes behind the webinar, but it's up to you if you use it in different way or not. And those lists are disappears after webinar finished, so it won't stick on your Microsoft list home page forever. And what's very important for close that one, for live events, if you plan a live event, well, you should go and try at least once how it works if you didn't do this before, because it has specific designer, specific user experience, different scheduling experience. So I need to provide title, of course, start date, end date with some details, but in the same time, permission for this live event, if it's org-wide, if it's or if it's a public. Then options are quite different, because I can select if I want Q&A panel or not. If I want captions, and it's in German, Chinese, and some popular languages. I can see if attendees will get recording or not. If I don't want to enable recording for attendees, I can disable that. And well, in fact, that's it. There's no other options for live events. And I can send attendees link to attendees. And there, if you are familiar with live event, there is quite new feature in this. I will go quickly to show you how it looks like and why it's so important. Okay, so the design user experience is dedicated for large broadcasts, and Microsoft introduced something called restart event. Before that, without that feature, when you start your live event and you stop it, there wasn't any option to restart that event, to start it again. So if you accidentally started because of some tests, dry tests before the event date, well, you had to recreate that event in live in Teams from scratch and send a new link to your attendees. So it was quite a disaster if you started before the event itself. So now you can restart the event multiple times, so you don't need to worry about some tests on this planned live event. So it's, well, a lifesaver in many cases. But keep in mind that if you're not familiar with live events, go and do some dry run, because it works in a different way than classic meeting and can cause some troubles if you just start doing it 5 minutes before the event. So about live events, what's important to enable Q&A panel if you want to talk with your attendees. And what's the most important thing, you can restart your live event, so you don't need to worry about some tests before the event. And select if you want to enable recordings for your attendees or not. If not, they won't get any link to recording after the event finish. So a quick overview, what you can configure, what you can get also, and what you should use in your meetings when it's running. So first, there's meeting options that you can configure during your meeting. It doesn't matter if it's configured properly or not. You can always change it. You can manage your attendees, and there is one new feature that I will show you what you can use with managing options. Of course, recordings. If you enable this auto recording will start automatically. If not, you can enable start or stop recording by yourself, or anyone from your organization can start or stop recording. Of course, breakout rooms, if you plan to divide your meeting into smaller groups, you can use breakout rooms. Of course, sharing modes, there are a lot of sharing modes. You can share, I will show you that in a moment. And you can use apps during your meeting. So about that, features that are quite new. So if I go to my meeting again, I will connect quickly. Yep, but I have to connect. I have to connect as my John with my John account as well to show you what you can get. Any attendees option, okay. I will make that one as attendee, not a presenter anymore. So of course you can manage your user, you can remove him from meeting and disable mic, camera, etc. But you can also go to your ellipses in participants and you can manage permissions for attendees, but you can also lock the meeting. This feature is available during the meeting, and if you click lock the meeting will be locked and no one else can join your meeting. What happens if I click that one? Lock the meeting. Okay, lock. Let's see what happens. Yeah, meeting is locked and no one else can join. That's interesting. But what if I try to join from my second account? Okay. Wait a moment, I will switch my language from Polish to English in this account. So now I will try to connect to this locked meeting from my test account. I can still see it in my calendar, but if I want to try to join, I can't. The meeting is locked and no one else can join. Even if I was in attendee list, I can't do this. I can retry multiple times, it won't work. So it's a quite good option if you want to close the meeting, don't let anyone else join. So it doesn't matter if they have proper link, they are on attendees list, doesn't matter. Meeting is locked, it means no one else can join. That's quite useful in many cases. I can always unlock this meeting and work in standard way, and attendees can join again, as you can see. So that's about this log the meeting. There's also one option, well, it's not available right now, but one option that is coming to this participants option to manage your attendees. Right now, if you create a meeting, you're the only one organizer of that meeting. So you have full access to breakout rooms and to your meeting options. And you can't assign organizer role to anyone else. If you create a meeting and you need to change a setting inside that meeting, you have to join that meeting. You can't do this without joining the meeting or going to options. And in upcoming month or two, there will be new co-organizer role. So you will be able to pass your organizer permission to up to 10 additional users from your company. So I think it will save a lot of troubles on meetings when you can't be or can't join. So that's about manage attendees. I talked about recording, so there's nothing new. About sharing modes, there's new update. Of course, if I want to share something, I can share screen window. I can use brand new Microsoft Whiteboard with a lot of new features. That's quite interesting. Or you can select PowerPoint Live if you want to present only PowerPoint. It's great feature. Just select the PowerPoint from your OneDrive or from your computer, upload it, and Teams will do the rest. So it's quite interesting option because there's very important feature for me. So this I will make it a little bit. Not this one. Yeah, that's that one. That's better. And I love this laser pointer because usually if I use PowerPoint from my desktop, well, I have to use some additional software for Zoom it or something else to write something on my slides, on my desktop, etc. Now, using this PowerPoint Live, you have access to this laser pointer, so you can draw something. This drawing will disappear in a few seconds, but it's enough to mark something, select something, or highlight. So it's a really great feature. You have additional features in your taskbar, so some highlighter, pen, and eraser, so you can add additional layer to your PowerPoint presentation. So it's quite interesting. I think that's all from this one. So going quickly through the meeting options. Yeah, so for attendees, you can log the meeting. That's quite it's brand new option. For breakout rooms, there's nothing new, but if you need, you can divide your users into your meeting users into smaller groups using these breakout rooms, but you must be the organizers. So you have to join your meeting and divide your meeting into breakout rooms. And about sharing, you can, of course, share your screen or PowerPoint. I strongly recommend use this PowerPoint Live because it's easy to use. You don't need to switch between screens, share your screen, etc. You can use whiteboard, or you can use modes, presenting modes with your camera. So you can select content only, stand out, side by side presenter, or reporter. That's quite new mode. Yes, so this is quite new and useful modes, but you have to enable camera before you start this one. Okay. So if you run your meeting and you finish your meeting, there's always, I have some meeting, this one, edit. This is my past meeting. You will get a lot of information about your meeting when you go to this, if it's finished. You can find all your chat, all your files from your meetings in one place, and you will get also all recordings in one place. And now you can select between all recordings. So if you record your meetings 5 times during the meeting, there will be 5 recordings, and you can select the correct one. And at the same time, you can go and check attendance report in this nice and easy to navigate view. And also in the same as for recordings, you can go and select any specific run of your meeting and check your attendees attendance report. If it's not enough, because from this side you can't download this report, it's only as a page in your Teams. But if you go to details, there is attendance report available for your to download. So if I click this one, I will get CSV file, and in this CSV file I can check the same things that are available in attendance page in my team. So if you want to quickly show your attendance report, you can go to this attendance section. But if you want full details that you can export or do something, work with this data, you can go to details and download the CSV file. If you use another application, for example, Whiteboard or meeting notes, you can go and check or export Whiteboard to PNG file, or go to meeting notes and export those notes or copying those notes to your additional software, OneNote, whatever you want. Okay, let me go to the next slide. And a few upcoming features that should be available this year, I think. The next one that should be quite interesting is video filters. So you will be able to add some light to your meetings. Co-organizer role that is coming pretty soon. So you will be able to pass your organizer role to someone else, up to 10 people. Admins can install apps in meetings. So for all meetings, there will be pre-installed applications. Together mode extensibility with some additional modes, and presenter for breakout room. That should be, well, it's coming, and I think it should be available together with co-organizer role. So as a quick takeaways from this presentation. So, well, choose the right meeting type. I think that most people should or stick to them classic scheduled meeting, but if you need something else, just consider choosing something, some different type. And yes, please go and check meeting options, because it can change a lot and can save you a lot of troubles during that meeting. For example, if you create a meeting for 5 or 50 or 60 or 100 users, and you put everyone in a lobby, it's not easy way to allow them one by one from lobby to your meeting. So prepare and configure your meeting accordingly to your scenario. If you need, record and share recordings, and keep in mind that auto recording can be tricky and can create your recording in someone else OneDrive, or even in chat, meetings chat. And what's I think is the hardest one, stick to the plan. If you send the plan, stick to this plan. And if you create some tasks after your meeting, just monitor these tasks, because it's easy to forget what we talked about on our last meeting. So guys, do you have any questions or something else about this meetings in Teams options, configuration options?
So, any questions to Marcin? It seems to be a pretty quiet audience.
Okay.
But thanks for presenting all the options in various meeting types. And again, it's even for someone who works with Teams on a daily basis, it's always good to learn something new, because especially the Meet Now options, this is something that I personally do not use very often.
Yeah, Teams, Microsoft loves to hide
yeah.
How
do you deal with the webinar configurations, especially when it comes to not setting the correct date and time when you open the registration form editor, and then change the dates afterwards in the webinar meeting? because those are not reflected in the forms editor, which is quite annoying.
Yes, it's a lot of troubles in this. To be honest, I prefer not to use this webinar function. Yeah, it can make me, well, it makes me not happy. I tried a few times, but if there's anything that I have to change or problems with registrations, it's a pain to deal with this.
Yeah, I encountered this glitch in the webinar registration form a few weeks ago, because I had to set up a webinar or a series of webinars, and from my perspective, the webinar functionality is version 1, so to speak, because there are certain functions that I really miss, right? So there is no way that Teams, for example, creates a single overview where you have a view of, let's say, 5 configured webinar to select from.
Yeah, I think that there's no version, let's say beta version. And now they fix a lot of issues, because 3 or 4 months ago, it was terrible to change. If you change or add additional form after you open the registration, you can easily lost all your registered users. So it was a tragedy for me in one webinar. And now they fixed that, but there's still a lot of stuff to do in webinar, because it's okay for very simple scenarios. That's okay, but for complex, it's not ready for complex.
Yeah, it's not a platform that you can use for organizing multiple events or event series.
Yeah, an entire process with when your attendee, your participants gets a link from Teams to your meeting. It's not optimal, and only in Outlook invitation. Yeah, it's a lot of trouble.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marcin. Thanks for being our guest.